Most of the papers this morning carry the story of the president's speech on the front page. This Nigeria. Your sacrifices will not be in vain, Tinubu tells Nigerians, presents 49.7 trillion naira budget. Defense and security, education, health take lion's share of 4.91 trillion naira, 3.58 trillion naira, and 2.48 trillion naira respectively. Pledges reduction in foreign exchange rate. That story is on page 4 of this Nigerian newspaper. Nigerian Tribune has it this way. Inflation to slide to 15% next year, says Tinubu, as it presents 49.7 trillion naira 2025 budget. Defense, infrastructure, health, education, top priorities. Nigeria targets 3.89% deficit, 34.82 trillion naira revenue. NAS extends life of 2024 budget to June 2025. Experts express divergent views on budget estimates. Budget anti-people as coming from the PDP. New Telegraph, 2025 budget. Time for lamentation over. It's new dawn, says Tinubu, as defense infrastructure, education top 49.7 trillion naira appropriation budget. The details on the inside pages of the paper today. The Guardian newspaper, 2025 appropriation bill. Tinubu eyes 15% inflation rate from 49.7 trillion naira budget to spend 2% on agri. Stories on page 6 of the paper today. The Daily Times newspaper has it this way. Tinubu presents 49.7 trillion naira 2025 budget as defense, infrastructure, health, education take big shares. Check the details on the inside pages. Blueprint has 2025 Tinubu targets 38.82 trillion naira revenue to fund 49.7 trillion naira budget. Defense security gets 4.91 trillion naira, infrastructure 4.06 trillion naira, education 3.5 trillion naira, 2.48 trillion naira goes for health. Daily Independent has 2025 budget, defense, education, infrastructure get lion's share of 12.49 trillion naira. FG targets 34.82 trillion naira in revenue to fund budget. Projects 1,500 naira to the dollar. Crude oil production of 2.06 million barrels per day. Debt servicing to Gulf 15.81 trillion naira. Budget deficit 13.08 trillion naira. Tinubu says Nigeria generated 14.55 trillion naira revenue in 9 months. PDP decries Tinubu's 47.9 trillion naira 2025 budget as anti-people. The details you'll find on the inside pages. Look at the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. 2025 budget. Tinubu aims to reduce inflation rates to 15%, 1,500 naira to the dollar. Prioritizes security, infrastructure, education as PDP kicks, describes targets as unrealistic, insensitive, as the lead story of the front page of the Nigerian News Direct today. Front page of Business Day newspaper. Security, human capital, Tinubu's 2025 budget priorities. Food security budget jumps 128%. Analysts describe assumptions as ambitious. 5-year budgets show assumptions haven't been realistic. The details on the inside pages of Business Day newspaper. These are the papers we have for you today.
Well, you've seen how the papers captured the president's presentation of the budget there, but there are a number of other very interesting headlines. Take a look, for instance, at the leadership newspapers, something in the spirit of the season. And this is something that we have raised over and over again, that in many other parts of the world, when it's the Yuletide season, there's usually a discount, there's usually promo, there's usually something, to get for customers to actually feel the spirit of the season, not the increase that we usually experience in Nigeria. In Nigeria, it's quite the opposite. You find that when it's closer to the Yuletide, people are paying more for things that they ordinarily would be paying, less for during the ordinary season. And so oftentimes you find people advised to buy early, buy in good time so that you avoid the Christmas rush and you also avoid paying extra. And some people will say, well, maybe it's just obeying the laws of demand and supply. But the question is, who is really protecting us against exploitation? So if you take a look at the front page of the leadership newspapers, for instance, and you see this, passengers groan as flight tickets to Southeast near 1 million naira. You have to ask questions as to what exactly is going on. Is this really the cost of jet fuel and the cost of operating the aircrafts, or and a reasonable fee, or is this the airlines trying to exploit their customers, knowing that a lot of them would surely travel in this season, and that's why it's as high as almost 1 million naira within Nigeria? If you say it is the dollar has been high since a while now. So what precisely is making sure is ensuring that these tickets cost so much? I think that the FCCPC, the Federal Consumer Protection Council, which has taken the airlines up in some regard, really needs to step on the throttle on this one and ask deeper questions of the airlines as to what exactly is going on. There needs to be greater attention paid to customer service, and all of the service agencies which are in the business of consumer protection, Servicom, they need to up their game in this season. While everybody else is going on holiday, your people cannot go on holiday. There have been plenty of complaints, and I think we received one very recently from somebody who booked a ticket, expensive as they are right now, on a third-party platform, on a travel agency platform. It turns out that it was a fake ticket. So there are questions as to who exactly is standing up for the consumer in this season and making sure that they are protected from exploitation. FCCPC, we look to you. Kayla.
Speaking of regulations, I want to be able to take a look at the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. And they are looking at the tariffs right now. In fact, there's quite a lot that's happened. And I'm taking that from the Guardian newspaper today. In fact, I'm reading most of it from page 2 of the Guardian this morning. They've released a new tariff that is maintaining the Band A end user bill at 209 kilowatt hour, 209 naira per kilowatt hour. But they're also talking to, they actually directed most of the discos to downgrade certain feeders due to their inability to provide the hours of electricity that they promised, which I think is a very important conversation to have. In fact, when the Minister of Power at the time had talked about how, oh, look, there are repairs going on in our power lines, you're going to experience some power outages and things like that, I would have thought that at the time they would have downgraded everyone from Band A, because you wouldn't have been able to get those hours of electricity. And many of these discos, at least we're seeing from the Regulatory Commission, the NERC, many of these discos have not been able to provide the hours of electricity that the consumers are paying for. And also these tariffs, remember, they were done at a time when we were all trying to grapple with the economic situation, inflation and all of these things. Well, while we're trying to adjust with that, I'm going to add my voice with the voice of NERC today. Because it's a situation where you are asking people to pay for something they're willing to pay, but you're not providing it. And that is something that they need to look inwards and actually do the right thing. The Regulatory Commission for that is saying, look, downgrade people if you're not providing those hours of electricity. And I'm just going to end by saying, as people, we should also start reporting. If you're not getting, the hour, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Reporting people and situations that do not favor you is self-love. It's not. You shouldn't be embarrassed by that.
We should see more of the promos, telling people that, look, if you're exploited this season, if you're dissatisfied with service,
say something about it.
This is who to call.
Yes.
Because sometimes people don't even know who to report to.
NERC. That is who you reach out to in this particular matter. And I think I'm going to end it there. But let's see how it unfolds in the days to come. Ayo, what are you looking at?
How I love to always pay attention to good news, stuff that's fun and exciting and everything. But it'll be remiss of us, Kayla and Malcolm, not to mention the occurrence that is right there on the front page of the this Nigerian newspaper this morning, I think, and it is something that happened in Ibadan, which everyone, of course, has been looking at. Right there on the top, right beside the nameplate, is the Ibadan tragedy. 30 children feared dead after stampede at Carnival. Very, very touching story. It was supposed to be a good thing from what we hear. People were supposed to receive monies to take care of their families and children mostly, just, take a little something. But I guess the organizers probably did not anticipate the kind of crowd that came out just for the goodness that they were going to take home to whatever, to whoever, wherever, So it's a really, really sad one. Unfortunately, of course, we've had that deaths have been recorded. The Oyo State government has made a statement, and I don't know whether or not security or safety precautions were taken. Maybe those were the issues that are being looked at there. And of course, a number of people have been making comments. I really don't know what to say. My heart just goes out to those families now. 6 days to Christmas, and this is what some of them are going to have to live with. Is very, very unfortunate, and we pray that God will give everyone the fortitude to bear this loss, and that the Oyo State government will have all the sympathies it needs, and this issue would indeed be addressed. And whoever is involved, whatever compromises were made, somehow, it'll be addressed in a way that everyone is satisfied at the end of the day. Really, really sad and unfortunate, ladies. I don't know what your take is on it.
Indeed, Ayo, you can say that again. And it is really, really heartrending, and our hearts and condolences to the government and the people of Ibadan, particularly the parents who have lost children in this. I think this is part of the things that we're highlighting also in this season. Safety, attention to safety, attention to security, lives and property. People matter. From the story that we're reading, this was supposed to be something that was organized for 5,000 children. But from the night before, we understand people already started keeping vigil at the venue, which already indicated that clearly more than 5,000 people were going to show up. What were the safety arrangements put in place to ensure that children are safe, or the people who go to the venue are all right? We need to pay more attention to keeping human lives, to protecting human lives. We're losing more lives to issues of safety than even security. I'm sure if you ask the FRSC, the fire service, how many lives we have lost altogether. Even boat service. I mean, how many people have drowned just trying to, cross a river this year, for instance. These are things that we need to prioritize as a people, as government, in schools, in the public space. People need to be more oriented around safety. But this is not the time to preach. This is the time to, right now, just take a pause and send our hearts out to the people of Oyo State. By all means, also, by extension, to the children of Nigeria.
I think with the Yuletide and the celebration, just a cautionary warning, just resounding cautionary warning to organizers. I know you're trying to make some money right now, but you could face a lot of trouble for not doing what's right.
Exactly.
So you have to be more responsible. You have to be more responsible. And parents right now, I know you want to take your kids out. You want the most affordable place to take your kids to right now. You also have to do checks. I know it's a hard time, but we all have to be calm, patient, and cautious. And of course, our hearts go out to the families who are mourning right now.
Well, at this point, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at the issues that we have for you lined up. Please stay with us.